Hello students, welcome to answer key discussion of just concluded UPSC Prelims General Studies exam. So in this section, I'll be decoding Science and Tech and Environment and Ecology section. Since IFOS exam is linked with the UPSC Prelims, there were no surprises that this particular section had a major chunk of questions as has been trend in last, we could say, decade. To break up, we can say there were 12 specific questions on environment and ecology, comparatively a dip from last 3 years. And science and tech saw emergence of once again themes. There were roughly 16 questions which can be directly or indirectly attributed to text section, because I'll be decoding section B, but I'll be highlighting each and every question, so it's easy to decode irrespective of that which is the right answer. And this is the question paper of some student. The answers which are you are seeing marked are not the official answer. We'll be decoding. So kindly be careful. Just don't go through the markings which are being highlighted in this given question paper. So first of all, let's start with the science and tech part, which can be called as comparatively a difficult nut to crack if we go by the themes which have been asked. But if we go by the practice, or we could say the strategy which is ideally deployed to solve such questions, has once again given dividends to the aspirants. So first question which I am taking up is question number 65. Now this question was covered qualitatively in class lectures, in current affairs, or more or less majority of students must have got it right. So the question is, artificial way of causing rainfall to reduce air pollution makes use of. So basically we are seeing emergence of, you could say, geoengineering, and artificial rain is a concept which can be used to reduce pollution, because we have seen in case of Delhi NCR region this time the conditions were far worse than the last, you could say, 2 years, and lot of scientific methods were being advocated to contain pollution. So typically in artificial rain, it's the silver, you could say, iodide, potassium iodide, even sodium chloride crystals can also be used. So the right answer for this question is A option. The silver nitrate is the ink, inedible ink we use in the election. So basically, this is not to be confused with it, and this is was the whole basis of the question. So if you could distinguish silver nitrate and silver iodide, you would have got this question right. In our general science class lectures, both these facts of election, you could say electioning, as well as you could say artificial rain, are dictated. So this is one of the questions which majority of you might have got right. Coming to the 63rd question. Now in 63rd question, you could otherwise the 64th question is also, you could say, related to science and tech part. But let's decode 63rd first. In 63rd question, as you could see on your screen, they have mentioned three specific missions: Axiom 4, SpaceX, and Gaganyaan. So out of all these three, India has gained. So that basically they have tried to glorify the Indian space program, which is already at its zenith and giving us more and more positive news. Even though 2025 year has started on a mixed bag, the last PSLV C61 mission was a failure, and even the tribute mission of the 100th mission carrying navigation satellite didn't give us dividends as well. But that's the back end story. So the Axiom 4 was recently in news. We have asked them in our final mock test as well. So it is the same mission in which is carrying the Indian astronaut Shubhankar Shukla, and it's carrying tardigrades, which are called the water bears. So basically, the main purpose of this mission is to reach International Space Station and carry out microgravity experiment. And that's what the demand of the question is there. Which of the following missions can be attributed to microgravity research? So the primary aim of the Axiom 4, apart from the space experiments, tends to be the microgravity. The first option is correct. Now, SpaceX is Indian, you could say, space docking experiment which we carried out. There were two satellites, Chaser and Target, which were placed and they were successfully undocked as well. So we can say they were also carrying the microgravity experiment, and this is the build up to the international, you could say, space station Indian version, Bharatiya Antariksh Station. So this mission is also associated with it. Then coming to our futuristic Gaganyaan mission, in which we will finally send three cosmonauts in, you could say, low Earth orbit, 300 to 400 kilometers, along with the Robert Vyomnaut. Once again has a dimension of microgravity experiments and our foray into manned missions. So there was no major catch in these three missions. So you have to pick all the three options are correct. I hope majority of you who attended current affair classes regularly might have got this one as well. Now coming to 64th question, it has a defense angle, but it's not as easy as it seems. So you have to match the aircraft with the description part. So Dornier 228 is a defense aircraft. At times we tend to export or try to pitch this product and in multiple countries. So to say it's the maritime patrol aircraft used by Navy is correct. Indian Navy uses such aircraft. The first option is the correct combination. Now, IL-76, you could say the Russian primitive, you could say fighter aircraft, and it was in operation till 75, 74 were the years when it was gained limelight. At that time, you could say the first generation or second generation aircraft were making headlines, and they were not supersonic in nature. Basically, the supersonic ones have evolved recently, and currently world is moving towards hypersonic technology as well. So basically, in second option, there is a catch. It's not a supersonic aircraft. So basically, it's not possible to memorize so many examples, even though in our class lecture, we focus on MiG, Sukhoi, Rafale, and you could say the F-22 Raptor. So basically, this one is out of box, and if you have made mistake in this or unattempted this, it's quite acceptable. Now, C-17 Globemaster, C-130J, Super Hercules, these aircrafts we cover in our class lecture. These are specialized US military transport aircraft acquired by Indian Air Force. So in this question, you have the answer is rightly marked. Only two combinations are correct, first and the third combination. So basically for 64, you have to mark the option. Now coming to 61st question, some rare earth elements are used for manufacturing flat TV screens and computer monitors. So once again, this question is a correct description. Rare earth elements have revolutionized electronic sector, and we see dominance of China especially in this sector. Now the second statement says some rare earth elements have phosphorescent properties. Phosphorescent means when you supply energy to the charged particle, they emit electrons. Basically, the glowing screens which we see, or you could say high resolution images which we are seeing on organic light emitting diodes or TVs, is basically due to this very particular property. So we can say that both statements are sound, and the statement 2 is the correct explanation of statement 1. So basically in this particular, you could say UPSC paper, there are multiple questions which are on similar lines. So it will require a lot of, you could say, patience to first go through the statement, then first mark the correct option, and then try to link whether the reason can be attributed to first. So basically, assertion reasoning part has been linked to the GS part. It makes the question paper little tricky. But otherwise, rare earth elements theme was covered multiple times in our class lecture, as well as when we do Samudrayan mission, or you could see the e-vehicle theme as well. Then coming to another question, even though it's not directly can be attributed to science and tech, but there's no harm at one thing. One or two options are linked to science and tech, so we are clubbing it here. So it says that Indian Railways have prepared national rail plan to be future ready, because we have seen the mishaps of railways occurring more often than not, and the cover system was making headlines. So in this first, there is a catch of the year, because we have not given the deadline to 2028, it's linked to 2030. So first statement is incorrect. The second one is once again debatable, is the automatic train protection system, because Kavach is our Indianized version, even though the system has been, you could say, inspired from Germany, Japan. So basically this statement is once again an incorrect. We can claim Kavach is the majority developed by the Indian system. And coming to the third part, yes, it has RFID tags on station for better tracking, because RFID, we know, is the advanced radio frequency identification tag technology, which is known for its authentication, difficult to counterfeit. It has a lot many advantages over barcode, as we had discussed in our emerging technology lecture. So you can see, since the question says which the following statements are not correct. So if there is a catch, because majority of questions in this paper are which of the following statements are correct. So in this particular theme, you have to understand B option, no, A option, 1 and 2 are the incorrect one. The third one is the right. And apart from that, there is one factual question of environment which is asked in current affairs section. So I'm highlighting that as well. So they have asked which organization has enacted nature restoration law to tackle climate change and biodiversity law. So this is a random current affair, not some major happening which every student might have covered. So in this, your factual memory comes into the place. It was enacted by the European Union because we are seeing that 30 by 30 is gaining traction. We have to reduce biodiversity loss by 30% by 2030, and numerous such measures are being carried out by different organizations. So comparatively, this single liner question at times are more difficult than the ones which we are decoding. So if you have not attempted this question or have marked it wrong, it could be you could say a cost benefit ratio, it could be against you. So, but if you have got it right, you could say you have definitely got it. So basically in this set B, we can say the current affair questions which were 10, 15, they were in sequence, out of which we have attributed 5 directly from science and tech and 1 to the environment and ecology. Now let's just go back to little bit because now next set of questions are in sequence irrespective of the set A, B, C, D. You will find them in sequence. So hopefully now we don't have to slide too much. So first we will once again start with science and tech part because this set B started with that particular section. Yes. So here we go with the first question. Now this is a set B, and now the questions are in sequence. 1 to 10 were from science and tech. Only one question we can attribute to environment. 11 to 20 were from environment and ecology. So once again, they have asked about the emerging technology of powertrain vehicles, how you could say the energy generated in a vehicle is transferred to engine and then the movement is produced. So basically, they are given you multiple options which can be used to generate energy in any vehicle. So if you are familiar with automobiles, currently we have full battery electric vehicles which are already in practice, which are operational. Now hydrogen fuel cells are another good option. We have seen the green hydrogen mission coming into a picture, and green hydrogen is being touted as the next big thing, especially for the core industries and heavy vehicles, and they have fully capable of internal combustion engine as well. And also the fuel cell hybrid vehicles, which we call flex fuel vehicles and hybrid vehicles, are also a norm so that the compliance and we can have a diverse mix of vehicles. So once again in science and tech, we generally see all of the above trend to glorify technology continue. So this question was once again no exception. So if you have marked all three, you have definitely got 2 marks in your kit. If you are overthink or you just got stuck on EV vehicle, then probably you might have made mistake, especially if you are a first time. Otherwise, the seasoned players know what exactly is to be done in such questions. Now coming to question number 2, which was once again on expected lines, because we have seen current Indo-Pak conflict dominated by the different drones, right from Chinese Turkey to the Indian version of Harpoon Israel made. But this case, they have not focused on examples or types of drones because we know there are basically unmanned aerial vehicles for surveillance, intelligence gathering, and then there are unmanned armed vehicles for bombing. And currently, we have seen the Israel-Indian drones, which are specifically integration of, you could say, a particular drone with the missile part as well, and they are doing precision. We call them the kamikaze drones. So in this question, the key word is whenever in science and tech, all, always, none, never. These are the statements which are generally wrong. So once again, from journalist point of view, even though you might not be aware about so many intricacies of unmanned air vehicle, but the key word is they have overemphasized the use of all. So they are saying all types of UAVs can do vertical landing. So basically, this is a graduation. We have seen evolution of drones from various purposes, and all drones are not designed for combat purpose or only for civilians purpose. So this is an super exaggerated line. Mainly, specifically defense ones are programmed for this particular purpose. First statement is wrong. Then coming to The second statement, all types of UAVs can do automatic hovering. Automatic hovering means they are able to stand in air for considerable time. So basically, this function is primarily reserved for surveillance drone, like you see the UAV Netra or UAV, you could say Panchi or some other Garud which was shown in movies. So such specific drones cater to such technologies. So we cannot say all UAVs have definitely this particular advantage. Now coming to the third, they say that all types of UAVs can use battery only. Once again, you can say they have used all and then only word as well. So basically, the person who is doing this question at least has got this one in the right domain as a source of power. So we all know, depending upon conditions, there could be other technologies which could also play in picture. So you can say this statement once again was incorrect. So in this particular question, since you have to mark only the correct statements, so you have to got only the D option, none of the above. So fuel cell, you could say UAVs have also gained the traction. Now, question number 3 was once again from our emerging technologies lecture. We have specifically dictated while doing e-vehicles what are likely challenges that India needs to cater to if it wants to be a strong player in e-vehicles. We have specifically mentioned the key raw materials continue to be the lithium ion batteries, which have to back with nickel and cobalt. So three options straightforward are written: cobalt, lithium, nickel. Graphite it comes in our science and tech lectures when we are covering nuclear energy. In that, graphite act as a moderator. So basically, if you are not familiar with the revision, then probably you might have got little confused in picking the all. But if you go into technicalities part, they have specifically mentioned as the word cathode as well. So in that case, anode graphite acts as an anode in those particular things. So basically, even though you could have just mugged up the e-vehicle team and pick forward 1, 3, 4 as the option, so we can say we make up the battery cathode. So 3 has to be the answer in this question. So 3 correct answer is going to be C option. Now coming to question number 4, this was once again on expected lines because we are few days away from, you could say, World Environment Day, which will be celebrated on June 5, and the current theme for this year is beat plastic pollution. So plastic and e-vehicle were the two pollutions which I have categorically highlighted in our class lecture as well, that you have to be little specific. So already campaigns are going on, they are highlighting different type of products which we need to be selectively because they carry the plastic component. Cigarette butts, typically they are referring to cellulose acetate, which is a type of a polymer and can be attributed to the plastic. There were a couple of articles which appeared in newspaper as well, that how even the cigarette pollution contributes to the small part washing away in the ocean and is a problematic. So eyeglasses lenses due to economical reasons, due to their flexible properties as well as the color dimension. So eyeglass lenses are once again linked to the polymer and plastic products. So this is also a product. And the car tires you use synthetic rubber. So the natural rubber is a different scenario, but synthetic rubber has once again been linked to the polymer or the plastic part. So basically, in your plus one, plus two NCERT, there is a chapter in which they highlight such things. Already a few years back, there was a question on PET bottle, polyethylene terephthalate. So basically, these are polyethylene, polyester products which have been highlighted. So once again, answer is all of the three. All three contain one or the other type of plastic. So once again, if you have guessed all of the correct, it would have gone in the right. Then coming to the question number 5, the coal gasification technology is in news, and this is one of the environment emerging technologies where we're trying to do carbon sequestration as well as developing some useful products because science mainly attributes to socio-economic development of humanity and producing some useful products. So ethanol can be linked to coal gasification technology. Nitroglycerin is a misnomer here, so you have to be careful. Even though we didn't do this exact word in our static lecture, we have done trinitroglycerin, which is a, you could say, dynamite. So, but here the nitroglycerin refers to the drug because only a random current affair had appeared about these are vasodilator drugs, especially they are used to save the heart patient, angina pectoris, person who are doing some heart treatment. So, you have to eliminate the nitroglycerin part. Otherwise, these fertilizers are another byproducts which are used, and urea happens to be one of the main fertilizers which India uses. So basically, we are trying to do waste from wealth strategies and trying to just decarbonize the sector as well. So in this particular case, this is a tricky question. The trick of all three would have not worked. You have to be little specific. Only two can be linked to coal gasification process. Now coming to question number 6, there are certain chemical substances Cl20, HMF, LLM105, and whenever such line is written, sometimes talked about in media, these are some trigger questions which at times create some unsuspecting candidates to attempt these out of box ones. So basically, they are not as much in media as they are presented in the question. We have practiced these questions in your science and tech class lectures as well. So you have to be little careful. If you have heard any of the words, then you should go ahead attempting such question. But if you were not familiar with any of the terms and you are just carried away thinking that these are likely the themes which can be, then you might make mistake. Even though the first option is could be easily eliminated, we all know that HFCs have to be phased out, and but currently the fluorofluorocarbons were phased out, but still we are dependent on hydro and perfluorocarbons, and new materials are yet to be unleashed. So first one is not to one. The correct answer for this question is B option. These are all controversial explosives because the report was emerging that anti-gun American institutions were feeling that after World War II, lot of new explosives are now out of their shelf and they need to develop next level of warfare if situation demands. And on high energy fuels, once again, in cruise missiles, we all know are the guarded technologies. They only mention about in BrahMos that it's a solid fuel liquid. In particularly space segment, at times the chemicals are mentioned like hydroxy polybutadiene or unsymmetrical dimethyl hydrogen, which are not at all linked with these acronyms. So basically, if we have prepared next level preparation, then such option can be eliminated. And for rocket propulsion, once again, these are not the full cryogenic we have mentioned, they are liquid hydrogen oxygen, they are not some technical themes. So basically, by elimination, if you could be able to manage either the space defense part or the environment part, probably you might have reached this question. Otherwise, this is a tricky question to say the least. That's why we are saying that there are no easy takeaways as of in science and tech section. Each question had to be earned with, you could say, meticulous risk taking by going with that all of the above theme. Now coming to the seventh question, now this made headlines a few months ago. We covered in current affairs that Vivek Rana chip will enable quantum computing. We all know 2025 is the year denoted to quantum, you could say, technologies, and India's ambitious mission is also underway, National Quantum Mission, which we have already allocated the theme. So this is a quantum computing that could be directly linked. It made headlines as well. But the catch is it was built by Microsoft, not Amazon. So they have made a factual, you could say, interchange in the statement too. And deep learning is a type of machine learning subset. It can be attributed because we are seeing more and more advances in AI-based technologies, and deep learning has been the buzzword in 2024-2025 cycle. So definitely you might have been linked, but some of the students might have not gone through this current affair or probably were not able to link it with Amazon or Google. Then probably they could have made mistakes. So answer of this question is 1 and 3 because they are asking about the current. Now, monoclonal antibodies is a higher thing which is mentioned in your +1 +2 biology, and it's you could say in biotechnology at times this was one of the emerging topics. At times it only appears sporadically now because more controversial topics are in news like stem cell gene editing. So, but this is a traditional topic which made headlines even during COVID phase as well. So this time they have tried to once again ask this particular theme. They are man-made protein. They are generated in laboratory by various permutation combinations. So they are, first statement is correct. The second is they stimulate our immune function, immunological function to adapt to specific protein. This is their direct advantage because they are able to bind to specific receptors and produce the desired response. And lot of disorders, monoclonal antibodies are considered life-saving as well. So in current affair part, there was a news regarding Nipah and it was in research phase. So this is basically where the question gets a little tricky. Though yes, in COVID also it was tried, and other viral disorders at times it is tried. So in this case, when they have mentioned Nipah, which is a viral disease, this also is correct. But if you will look into the net, you will find very random or sporadic articles which are mentioning this discovery. So basically, person who's familiar with the topic might feel little uncomfortable linking it with Nipah virus, because Nipah, we all know, is a meningitis type of problem in which bats act as reservoir. So if you took that risk, that basically the tech is for glorification, then probably you would have got dividend. If you were little skeptical, probably this question would have been unattemptable and unfollowed. So basically, once again, the trick of 1, 2, 3 has worked in this question as well. The glorification of the emerging technologies or the healthcare continues. So ninth is an important question, because we know that viruses continue to dominate headlines for all the wrong reasons, and we are yet to demystify their existence. We continuously say these are the links between living and non-living. So basically, my first statement says, once again, this question goes to the extreme. No, the word is once again is giving you direct alert that this question is going to be in the wrong direction. It says that no virus can survive in ocean water. In fact, there are a lot of viruses which are being evolved, because we know in ocean there are a lot of living organisms, right from, you could say, mammals to you could say reptiles, and even the majority ecosystem is dominated by fishes. And even if we do not consider the larger organism, it is dominated by phytozooplankton, different type of algae. And virus is the organism which is an obligate parasite. It does not leave any small or large organism. So basically, the first statement is a blunder one, because if there was no life in ocean, then probably we might have associated with this. The first one is easily eliminated. And the second says no virus can infect bacteria. This was directly mentioned in our class lecture. There is a specific virus called bacteriophages. Bacteriophages are viruses that infect bacteria. Zoophages infect animal, phytophages plant, microphages, you could say fungi, and phycophages cell. So basically, second one is was easy to eliminate once again. And the third says no virus can change cellular transcription. We have seen viruses enter into the genome structure and at times trigger mutation as well. In mutation lecture, we had written mutation can be caused by physical, chemical, biological agent. In biological agent, viruses are the main culprit, which at times can change the transcription and translation as well. So transcription is basically the information from which we transmit DNA to RNA. So this question was asking about, you could say, which of the following are correct. So basically none of them is correct. So you have to mark the option in ninth question. And final question from science and tech question is activated carbon. Once again, an attractive tool for carbon sequestration. It has highlighted it, try to remove pollutants mainly from the water pollution theme as well, which is the correct one. Now the second phase, it exhibits large surface area. That's their advantage, because when you have large surface area, it is easy to absorb different metals, especially the heavy metals. And the third one says activated carbon can be easily synthesized from waste with high carbon content. As the name suggests, carbon, yes, it can be linked to high carbon, and it's mainly generated from waste as well. So once again, the question goes on the similar pattern of glorification of the emerging technologies, and all three statements are correct. But the catch is, once again, you have to link whether the statements attributed are linked to the right options or not. So in this case, we can say the first statement as it was going was about, yes, it can be used for used to remove pollutant. And why it is being able to remove pollutant? Because of its large surface areas and absorbing heavy metals. So basically this can be directly linked, even though this statement looks to be an independent one, that is generated from waste and high carbon content. It's not the primary reason why it is acting as the pollutant, that's its additional advantage. So basically in this question, technically the right answer should be the B option, even though the both statements are correct, but one of them is giving the exact answer why it is being popularized. So this could be debatable, because some of you might say that this is also an advantage, it makes it a popular material. So let's leave it to UPSC wisdom in this case. At times they could be, the answer could be from generalist or specific point. So we can overall say from here that the first 5 questions which I discussed from current affair past were quite manageable. In these particular themes, they were not as popular themes as they should have been. They had lot many better options to ask, but UPSC had tried to pick the emerging theme lecture in this question and try to glorify those technologies. And majority of the questions were once again on the same pattern of all of the, but only few questions had that trick of element. So if you, even if you were not comfortable with all the themes, the calculated risk would have definitely given you dividend. Now coming to environment ecology part, this was once again a tough nut and to crack. Otherwise, we have seen the questions of environment ecology. They keep on coming in different patterns, and since this examination is linked with forest services, the questions from this section carry a quite major, you could say, weightage. So basically, now the only one question we had discussed in the initial part. Now the next 10 are in sequence, and they are once again of moderate to tough difficulty. In question number 11, it says studies indicate carbon dioxide emissions from cement industry account for more than 5% of global carbon emissions. So basically, such data-based question can be at times tricky not to answer, because we see that it's not possible to memorize the specific data related to any particular segment, especially when it is a minor component. Even though we are able to link the major emissions are from power sector, energy sector, to be little specific carries a calculated risk. But once again, they have UPSC thankfully has not tried to take the side saying that it's more or less, the percentage is more or less to the similar line. In the second statement, silica bearing clays mixed with limestone while manufacturing cement. This is a higher +1+2 theme in which we carried these processes. So basically, the calcination process they are trying to highlight in second and third option once again carries the correct explanation. And once again, the technical part, the limestone is converted to CaCO, calcium carbonate is what limestone is. It's converted to lime Ca oxide during clinker production. Basically, once again, the calcination process has been written in the statement form. So definitely, the non-medical students had a definite edge in particularly the statement 2 and 3, because at times we have seen the chemistry part has been totally sidelined by UPSC, and it's not possible to go through for all students these +1+2 calcination, roasting, smelting part. So in this case, once again, the statement reasoning is has to be attributed, and we can say the first, second, third statement more or less are correct, but the right reason cannot be attributed that why they are producing more than 5% global emissions. So in this case, only you could say one of the three statements are correct, but they are not explaining the reason. So you can say, you cannot say that the emissions are because of these two. Now, 12th one is the important part, even though everyone predicted that you can expect question from COPs, because COP is the topic which dominates main theme as well, and current COP which was held was COP 28. But in that case, they have not asked about the main achievements or what were the irritants or what India showcased. They have focused on a theme which was not much publicized, because it was tricky one. So basically, not every student who had prepared COP 28 might have been able to just mark the options confidently. The first statement says that COP 28 India refrained from signing declaration on climate and health. So yes, it's a specific segment which ideally, by the name, when it seems likely that all global economies must have signed it. But in India's case, as we are developing country, it was not in our national interest to sign this particular declaration, which is linking health and climate change. So the first statement is correct. The second says the declaration on health is binding declaration. So if India would have signed, it would have been mandatory to decarbonize the health sector. So basically, they have given the exact reason as well, because this declaration is a strong one, and we know for large amount of energy is consumed in healthcare sector when you run an hospital, and some of the operations are so critical that power backing is through fossil fuel. We have diesel generators as well as, you could say, petrol. And the third one says India health sector is totally decarbonized, resilience, healthcare system may be compromised, because at times in cold storage also this theme is attributed. So we can say, even if you have missed this theme, the two statements are quite logical one, and they are trying to pitch the theme. But only catch is you might feel that India might have sent, could be in contact of some other country or some poor or underdeveloped. But the practicality is that India is still a developing country, and it was not in our best interest to sign this bold declaration. Eventually, we will sooner or later sign such themes as well. So basically, you can say in this particular question, again, reasoning, both statements are correct, and both of them are explaining the statement on that why India has hesitation of signing this declaration. So basically, it's a tough question, and if you have not attempted this one, you should not feel too bothered. Now coming to the 13th question, it has geographical angle as well. So it says the scientific studies suggest a shift is taking place on Earth rotation and axis. Now this is a quite important theme, and already we have seen that these things are happening due to climate change. Lot of IPCC reports also paint this gloomy picture that this is the sixth mass extinction which is underway, and human beings are carrying out some irresponsible acts and behavior, and which are coupled with the natural reasons which is making our tilt little than which will indirectly affect our days. And so basically rotation, this first statement is correct. Now the second one they had asked in UPSC previously, and also since Aditya L1 mission is dedicated to study corona and coronal mass ejection, so this is on expected line. Solar flare and coronal mass ejection bombards Earth's outermost atmosphere and tremendous amount of energy. So this is correct. We have specific payloads like plasma analyzer package for Aditya, which is called PAPA or aspect solids, which are linked to the coronal mass ejection. So we can say the second statement is correct. Magnetometer is also another instrument which is specifically studying the impact of these charged particles on our ionosphere or outer atmosphere. The third statement says, as the polar ice melts, water level will begin to rise, and it tends to move towards the equator. So you can say once again the theme goes as all three statements are correct, but out of which you cannot link this rotation to the solar phase. That's an independent event that is taking place in the atmosphere. Even though the third event, because it's related to the water circulation and water balance, it is creating impact on. So basically, the climate change article clearly highlighted that we should stop this polar ice melt and scrabble for Arctic, and Antarctic should stop. So in this case, the answer is going to be that all three statements are correct, but only two statements can be attributed. So basically, the B option where both two statements are correct, but only one of them explains is to be marked. So B option is the right answer for this. Now, question number 14 is on expected lines. This was predicted, and finally, we can say out of COP question, this one was more or less on the right path. So, Article 6 we have mentioned in our class lecture as well. It is the main article which deals with the carbon markets, and there has been long impending demand right from once the Paris Agreement came into force that this needs to be realized. So finally, there were some headways in which you could say the global discussion on sustainable development, climate change revolved, because a lot of people feel that after Kyoto Protocol, this carbon market have to be operationalized on next level, and we have to bring countries on compliance. Second statement says that the climate change sets out the principles of carbon market. So this is a dedicated article which is totally revolving around the carbon market. So this statement is once again correct. In the third statement, they have highlighted intends to promote inter-country just like the Kyoto Protocol. This is also on the sound basis. So we can say that once again the trick of all statements are correct can be linked to it, and but in this case the explanations are more or less because they highlighted why it's been frequently discussed, because this is the main pressing point. Countries want a clarity how carbon markets should operate. Their significance, since it's linked to the economic imperative, has been the major reason for discussion. So in this case, once again, you can say that statement 1 as marked here, both statements are correct, and both of them can be linked to the statement. So basically, this was you can say probably a temptable question. And once again, they have asked a factual question on international bodies and organizations. It's difficult to mug up because over the year there are a lot of current affairs, right from the IR, economics, national as well as environment perspective. Difficult to link the body. So it says which of the following belongs to Nature Solution Finance Hub for Asia and the Pacific. And options are quite tricky because a couple of them are directly mentioned with the Asian part. In the new development bank is linked with the Asian one. So it was a difficult nut to crack, and the answer is the Asian Development Bank. So if those of who got this one correct, you could say are definitely at advantage. But if such question, if unattempted, are the right way forward, because probably even I had to check from net what exactly is the body involved. Coming to the question, direct air capture. Now, once again, carbon sequestration, direct air capture is having the emerging technology. They are mentioned even in your economic surveys as well, as the question also says emerging technology. So the first is a straightforward, which is highlighted in our class lecture as well. In the last COP also, they had mentioned this word. So it's an emerging technology primarily focused to carbon sequestration. So the second word is it can be a valuable approach for plastic production and food processing. Yes, it can be tried because this is the evolving, few research papers are amplifying it. And the third one once again says that in aviation it can be source of carbon combining hydrogen to control the low carbon. So basically this is a new emerging setup which we are trying to bring cost and bring more efficiency in the system. So once again the glorification part continues and you have to just mark all of the above as the answer. So once again the dividend of the risk would have paid some of the students who would have attempted this question. Now coming to question number 17, now biodiversity is a theme which is always a difficult nut to crack because there are 1.7 million already identified species. It's not possible for everyone to just mug up the ecological role and their classification from this part. But the good part is at least they have given some hints. If they have mentioned peacock tarantula. So if you are familiar with biodiversity, tarantula is a scary spider which intimidates any person. It's a comparatively large size. Since the word peacock is attributed, you can assume it is going to have stripes and is going to be a colorful one. So they have mentioned its scientific name as well, the tarantula. And here the statements are quite tricky one. The first statement says that it is an omnivorous crustacean. Now, omnivorous are organisms which do not practically differentiate between the vegetarian or the non-vegetarian part. They are whatever comes in their mind, they tend to just devour it. So, in this particular theme, you have to understand it's an insectivorous species. So, basically, it will primarily feed on insects of this particular group. And the major catch was this only the zoology students could have able to manage. When you do arthropoda, the spider group is a separate order which is called arachnids. Crustaceans are basically the sea animals like crab, lobster, scorpion. So you have the catch was not only omnivorous bird but also in crustacean as well. So we can say only zoologists would have got advantage in this particular question. So we can give them benefit of doubt. Because from GS perspective, it's not possible that you are able to link a specific spider by its feeding habit as well as its order. Now, the second state, its natural habitat is in India. It's only limited to some forest area. So basically, once again, the only word might be confusing, but they have mentioned only some forest area. So basically, this line is trying to say that it is an endemic species. So definitely, if the word peacock is given, it has linked with India because peacock is not a common species which you will find at global level. Even the Darwin had mysterious say about it that because its appearance does not go in the either natural selection operates. In this case, we can say it's Andhra Pradesh and some parts of South India. It is an endemic species found only there. So second statement is correct. And the third says that it's in natural habitat. It's an arboreal species. Now, arboreal we all know are the species which dwell on trees, and they are basically residing on maximum time on. So this particular species, since the forest in which it resides are the deciduous forest, so basically it's the arboreal species. So in this particular question, we can say we have to mark the correct ones. So only The second and third are correct. The first one, due to classification blunder of, you could say, crustacean and omnivorous, this statement cannot be. So basically, the student might have marked all of the above in this question, but there was no all of the above question. So basically, I think majority of you might have taken only a calculated risk, and hopefully the damage would have been minimized. But definitely, people who are from medical or zoology background might have not been able to resist the urge to attempt such difficult questions. Now coming to the next part, this is once again an important one. Once again, it's on background of, you could say, climate change talk and the reports and data which keeps on coming. So they have asked that carbon dioxide emission in India less than 0.5 tons carbon dioxide per capita. So basically, it is trying to glorify India, but we are among the major polluters, and that's the reason why US and a lot of developed countries at times criticize the emerging economies like China and India because their contribution is comparatively on higher side at the moment. So this one is technically wrong statement. Our contributions are around more than 2 tons at present because we harbor the dream of being a developed nation, and the energy mix is the thing which comes in play. Then the second statement says, in terms of carbon dioxide emissions from fuel combustion, India ranks second in Asia Pacific region. So in this case, you need to be little straightforward. Yes, India is the second most major emitter in Asia, only behind China. So second statement is correct one. And this one is once again straightforward. Electricity and heat producing are the largest sources of carbon dioxide emission. It's also mentioned in your class lecture as well. And the power sector continues to dominate in being the villain in emissions. The thermal power plants on which we still depend on more than 50%, 22 emit CO2, SO2, NO2 and other. So basically, you have to mark the correct option. So we can say the second and third are correct. So C option is the correct answer for the given question. Now coming to question number 19, once again it's a quite unattemptable question because I am from bio background. I have studied intensively for this thing, but even I had to cross check each and every single option to reach at that. So basically we can say this is a quite a tough question by any standard. Even if you are a botany student or you have a gardening as a hobby, even then it's unlikely that you are able to manage the exact classification of each and every plant because from GS point of view, we all know herbs and shrub are the lower plants. They are not to be considered woody plant, and then they apply to it. So first says cassava, woody shrub. This particular combination is the correct one. Ginger, they say herb is pseudostem. If you are a botany student, then this theme is quite highlighted in your +1, +2 that the pseudostem which is appearing are nothing but the leaflets which are the remnants in that particular herb. So still here the question is following that pattern of all of the above type. Then Malabar spinach surprisingly is a herb, but it's also a climber as well because at times we tend to feel that spinach might not be a climber, but this particular variety, when you will decode, it is described as such. Now in mint there is a gap, it's the perennial shrub, not an annual shrub. So this is where the question becomes a little tricky. And with papaya, this if you have to watch the plant, you could easily make out it's not a woody plant, it's a greenish, you could say shrub type thing, woody. It's not a woody, but it's a exact word could be the herb plant state, not a woody shrub. So basically, this was a tough nut. Only three options you had to pick out of this. So B option is the correct one. Coming to the final question from Environment Ecology, once again, it's highlighting few facts which are overlapped with geography and environment section. So we all know rainforests are touted as the lungs of Earth because they play important role in carbon sequestration, producing oxygen. So they have tried to glorify rainforest produce, but what the catch is more oxygen than produced by ocean. So you have to understand, our land is just 1/3, 2/3 is ocean, so it cannot match these limited forests of Amazon, Congo, or Southeast Asia. They cannot eclipse the larger phytoplankton, zooplankton pool, which contribute to more than 50%. So basically, the first statement is in wrong direction. The second one tries to correct it. It says the marine phytoplankton and the bacteria, which are drifters, we call plankton, they have the important role. They produce what surprisingly 50% oxygen. So that's why we say that the saving ocean is quite critical. For these lower organisms, even though they at times are invisible, but their contribution to food chain as well as to the biogeochemical oxygen cycle is immense. So second statement is correct. The third one says well oxygenated surface water contains several folds higher oxygen than in atmospheric air. This is once again a wrong statement. We all know atmospheric composition of oxygen is around 21%. It cannot be written just by the surface water oxygen. So as we go deeper, only then there is a possibility of the little oxygen going higher. Otherwise, at surface level there is no mesh. So if you have good clarity about the ocean gradients as well as about the marine role of the coral reefs or other ecosystem portion, how they are critical. So this question could have been managed by elimination method. So once again they are asking about which the following are correct. So only second statement is correct in the given set of questions. So overall, we can say this section of environment, science and tech would have been a tough nut to crack for majority of students, but you could have managed it with selective, you could say risk-taking abilities, and at least in the easy and moderate questions options, you could have done decently, and even the level of other sections, we can say this paper would once again be on the similar lines which have been conducted over the years, even though at superficial level it may appear to be moderately easy because of few questions from some sections were quite manageable and straightforward, especially if you could say the history part or few questions in geography part. But overall, still a good paper by UPSC to test the civil service aspirants. If you feel that any question has not been explained clearly or you are having any doubt, feel free to reach out to us. We will be ready in your course. So this is what we had in our explanation. We are decoding all the sections. The first one was art and culture, which was uploaded first and then followed by history. And now this is the science and environment part, which carried roughly 1/3 paper, 26 questions to be precise. So best of luck everyone for mains examination. Feel free to reach out if you feel that you have managed to score a decent score, because it's right time to start your mains preparation irrespective of result. Don't waste too much time just going through the different answer keys because of subjective interpretation. So thank you very much. Have a nice day.